Okay, good. So today, if we're a smaller group, we can share more, I hope. So I hope everyone had a nice night's sleep, nice enough. And today I'm going to talk about building and developing the relationship with our patient, our employer, etc. Again, we're going to be on for about an hour and more. We'll have a short break in the meantime, and I do invite you and encourage you to participate. So let us begin. Building and developing a relationship with our patients. So we all know that everything is based on relationships, right? And what are the steps for creating a good relationship? Creating good communication, coordination of expectations, building trust, this is number one, and creating the caregiving alliance and taking into account social and cultural components. And of course, that's part of that is language barriers, right? So we'll talk a little bit more about each one of these things. First thing is creating a good communication. Okay, so in order to talk about communication, we want to talk about different types of communicators, you know, depending on who you are, what your personality is. We like to think of 4 different types of communication styles, and I'll go into what they are. First, a little bit in background. Every person has a unique communication style, a way in which they interact and exchange information with others. There are 4 communication styles that I'm going to talk about. There's the passive, the aggressive, the passive-aggressive, and the assertive. It's important to understand each communication style and why individuals use them. For example, the assertive communication style has been found to be the most effective because it incorporates the best aspects of all the other styles. When we break down these 4 styles, we'll better understand the characteristics of each one, standard phrases, and what makes them unique. We'll begin with the passive. Passive communicators often display a lack of eye contact, poor body posture, and an inability to say no. Passive communicators also act in a way that states, people never consider my feelings. And passive communicators are also easy to get along with because they follow others and go with the flow. But, big but here, if you're a passive communicator, then you're usually very frustrated because you are often misunderstood and you are often taken for granted, and you don't really express what you feel and what you think, obviously, so no one can know. And if you encounter passive communicators, the same thing. You don't know what they're thinking, you don't know what they're feeling, and it's difficult to communicate with them, right? And very often you can be taken advantage of and be misunderstood. So this is not a very advisable way to communicate. Is communicating or not communicating by being so passive. It makes it very difficult for us as caregivers to know how to communicate with them. And it has nothing to do with language, obviously. Aggressive communication style is emphasized by speaking in a loud and demanding voice, maintaining intense eye contact, dominating or controlling others by blaming, intimidating, criticizing, threatening, or attacking them, among other traits. Okay, this is a very difficult way of communicating. It's very unpleasant, obviously, and it also does not really allow a person to communicate in a real way because they're just all the time angry and abusive, right? So hopefully this is not part of our communication style as caregivers. And if we do encounter people in this aggressive mode of communication, then that makes it very difficult for us to understand what the issues are, what they're dealing with, what they're feeling, except what they are presenting, towards us. And again, this may not have to do with language. And of course, there's the passive aggressive. Passive aggressive communication style users appear passive on the surface, but within he or she may feel powerless or stuck, build up a resentment that leads to seething or acting out in subtle, indirect, or secret ways. Most passive aggressive communicators will mutter to themselves rather than confront a person or an issue. They have difficulty acknowledging their anger, use facial expressions that don't correlate with how they feel, and even deny that there is a problem. Again, being a passive aggressive communicator, if we have to deal with that in our employer, makes it very difficult because they are passing double messages. Okay, perhaps they're smiling, but underneath the smile they're angry. Perhaps they're in pain, but are not showing it. It makes it very difficult to understand what it is that's really happening to them because they send double messages. And of course, if we encounter people that are not direct and honest with the way that they communicate, that makes it very difficult for us on a regular life basis, but also especially in a caregiving situation. So it's very important that we understand this type of behavior so that we can look beyond it, right? To see what else is going on in the person's, how should we say it, in his persona, right? In the inside. Of course, then there is the assertive type of communication, which is the most direct and the best way of communication. Assertive communicators can express their own needs, desires, ideas, and feelings while also considering the needs of others. One of the keys to assertive communication is using the I statement, such as, I feel frustrated when you are late for a meeting, or I don't have to explain this over and over again. I don't like to do that. It indicates ownership of feelings and behavior without blaming the others. Okay. So being an assertive communicator is being, honest with yourself and with the person in front of you. And we're talking about types of communication styles that really go through language. Okay. So it's not a matter of language, it's a matter of personality and how you communicate, whether in one language or another, or without languages at all. Okay. So let's sum it up. Passive communication style, emotionally dishonest, indirect, inhibited, self-denying, blaming, and apologetic. Passive-aggressive communication style involves emotionally being dishonest and indirect, self-denying at first, but self-enhancing at the expense of others later. The aggressive communication style is inappropriately honest, direct, expressive, attacking, blaming, controlling, self-enhancing at the expense of others. And the assertive communication style is appropriately honest, direct, self-enhancing, expressive, self-confident, empathetic to emotions of all involved. And this is obviously the most, desired type of communication. Tools for effective communication. Understanding how others communicate can be a key to getting your message across to them. In order to develop effective communication style, here are a few tips to keep in mind. Take ownership. What does that mean? Use the I statement. If you present yourself in a real, open and honest manner, then I think that people can respond to that accordingly. Maintain eye contact, okay? Very important when you're trying to communicate to someone, especially if there is a language and culture barrier. Very important to look a person in the eye and smile, okay? And then try to communicate whatever it is that you're trying to, to deal with. Voice your needs and desires confidently. And don't forget to smile. It's always easier when you smile. How to deal with aggressive behavior or language. Okay, so here is a YouTube presentation that you may look at in your free time that can give you some tips on how to deal with aggressive behavior in your client or someone else in his family or in your surroundings. As professional caregivers, we do sometimes have to deal with aggressive behavior, very often set off by frustration or mental issues or anything else that, our client or our patient, our employer, or someone in his vicinity is dealing with. I just want to stress that under no circumstances do you need to be in a position where you feel you are being abused physically or mentally for an extended period of time, okay? On the one hand, we do expect that you make a big effort to deal with whatever situations, even if they are, challenging in that respect, if someone is being abusive, language or otherwise. But you must know that you need to, this is not something that you have to persevere for an extended period of time. And there are ways of dealing with it. For example, first you must consult the family. Next, you must consult the social worker. And if the situation is not resolved, then I think you must, and you have every right to change employers, okay? No one needs to be in an abusive situation for any extended period of time. And from our experience, from my personal experience, aggressive behavior can be dealt with medication and with other types of, behavioral treatments. So this is very important that you take into consideration. If you have issues of aggressive behavior, please ask for help, okay? Don't be alone with it. Nonverbal communication, okay, this is very important. Along with the 4 communication styles, there is also nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication is a way in which people can transfer information between them without the use of words, from the spoken, written, or sign language. Nonverbal communication is expressed in facial expressions, body language, okay? Clasped hands indicate closure, tone of voice, physical gestures, standing, and touching. This is very important. I think we all know if we have any kind of pets or animals, they do respond to our commands if we insist on it. And obviously they don't know Filipino, English, Hebrew, or Japanese languages, right? They know to understand and respond to the pitch of our tone, the rhythm of our voice, if we're calm, if we're anxious, right? And they respond to many other things that sometimes we're not aware of, right? How our body moves, how, the tone, how our stature is, if we're straight or if we're bunched over, and perhaps also the way, everybody emits all kinds of smells, right? The dogs are more sensitive to, animals are more sensitive to, and that we as humans respond to without even being aware of it. So firstly, we should all know that body language is very, very important, okay? The way we approach someone, the way we look at them, the way we touch them, the way we smile or don't smile, every part of our being communicates, okay? So it's very important on the one hand to be aware of ourselves, okay? To be honest and direct in the way that we communicate. If you have an issue with someone and you have a language barrier, look a person in the eye, smile at them, perhaps touch them gently on the shoulder or on the arm. Say something, short sentences, direct communication. I'm assuming that this would be, probably in most part enough and effective. But also, I think One of the people in our group yesterday mentioned, very important to be observant. Okay, so we want to observe the way that our employer and the family around them, how they behave, how they respond, how they communicate with their body and with, nonverbal communication. So all of that is a big type of interaction that's important to be minded of if we want to be professional and do our job as best we can. Tools for effective communication. Active listening, very important. Find out what is the patient's opinions, thoughts, emotions. Try not to make assumptions and also not to make judgments, okay? They're good, they're bad, they're this, they're that. No, they are what they are, okay? And we just want to know about them so that we can know how to deal with them, right? Reflection, in order to make sure you understand what your patient meant, try to reflect that you understood what he said by saying, I understand that you said so-and-so. I recommend that you repeat the words that they use, okay? And that gives a person a sense of affirmation that he has been heard in a real sense, okay? If you repeat his words. Empathy, try to empathize to your patient even if you don't agree with him. And the I message, when you talk about your opinion and thoughts, say that's what you feel and what you think. It's not a universal truth, right? Patience, very key word. Be very patient with your patient and his family. The situation is new to them too, and it takes time to get to know each other. Very obvious, takes time to get to know. It's like a blind date, right? One step forward, like a dance, 2 backwards, again, 1 step forward, 2 backwards, and eventually you get into the rhythm of understanding and knowing how to dance together, how to live together, how to do your job well. Tolerance, even if you don't agree with your patient, try to respect his opinion. It's okay to disagree and make conversation about it, but you want to be tolerant and not make judgments again. Nonverbal communication. Excuse me for a second. I just want to turn the phone off, which I didn't do. Nonverbal communication. When talking to a patient, maintain eye contact. Try to speak at eye level. Relax your speech. Calm your tone of speech. I want to talk about eye level. Eye level can be talked about in different levels of thinking, of feeling. Eye level means that you don't want to talk above a person, right? You don't want to talk down to them, that you're stronger, you're better, you know more, etc. You want to engage them in what's good for them, what they know, what they think, what they want. And also, you don't want to physically talk about, to be above someone. I'm assuming that most of our clients are, sitting, laying down, and if they're standing, maybe they are taller than you, I don't know. But the point is that you want to be at eye level. If we want to be understood, if we want to understand our patients, our clients, then we want to be at their eye level. Just sit, look at them in the eye, not above them, not behind them, and try to communicate directly in a relaxed, calm tone. Smile. I don't see anyone smiling this morning. Can we all smile, please? Right, get those muscles going, okay? Even if we don't feel like smiling sometimes, we have to understand that this is a real tool, okay? Smiling is a real tool. It's a tool that works on us and it works on the people in front of us, okay? It works on us. If you smile, automatically your brain brings down good things to make you feel better. So it's best to smile as often and as much as possible. All right, I invite you to participate. What is your communication style? What is, in your opinion, the best communication style? What do what can you do if your patient has a communication style that's difficult to handle? And which concern do you have about your own patient and, his communication? We want to remind you that you can speak about any issue and ask questions dealing with communication or other issues. But I'll just ask, has anyone learned a foreign language in the past or had to deal with people that were not communicators, non-communicators altogether?
None.
Good morning, Norley.
Good morning, Mom. I think I belong to an assertive communicator because, I express myself eagerly. Then for me, the best communication style is also assertive because vice versa. If you are communicating to other, you express yourself and you're, vice versa. Thank you.
You're absolutely right. Sometimes being passive, in some cultures may be considered polite, and not looking a person in the eye might be an expression of how should I say it? Respect, right? Respect. But it isn't so in our work, and it isn't so in Israeli culture. I'll just say, if you don't look a person in the eye, and if you don't respond in any way, then you're likely to be, misunderstood and perhaps even taken advantage of. So, very important to understand this cultural, thing as well. And sometimes people feel a little anxious and self-conscious and so on about expressing themselves, especially in the beginning. But you must be, making the effort. Has anyone learned a little bit of Hebrew so far?
A little bit, Mom.
Okay, say something in Hebrew.
Shalom, Boker Tov.
All right, that's good. That's good. That's a wonderful start.
Thank you, Mom.
And I recommend that you make an effort to learn 5 words each day. Okay, get a notebook going and learn 5 words each day. I think that would, in the long run, give you a basic understanding of what's going on around you. Baby Ruth, I like your name, Baby Ruth. There's a candy bar called Baby Ruth that I always enjoyed as a young girl.
Yes, my name is getting from the chocolate bar.
It's related to the chocolate bar. You must be as sweet.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Because.
Hi, do you want to share something with us about communication, language barriers in your experience?
In my experience, in the last few days, because it is hard for me to communicate in Hebrew, and that is why I installed the apps for the translator for us for them to understand what I said. So when I installed that apps and I express I just want to tell them. So and I translate it to Hebrew through translated. They understand what I am saying about. So that's it. So it is hard for us to communicate for a shorter of time, but in a period of time that later on that we are staying here and communicate well to the other people, we are learn how to speak the Hebrew little by little or gradually. But I love to communicate and to learn how to speak Hebrew. And until till now, I just learning the Hebrew language. So little by little, I will learn. I will learn a lot.
Good for you.
Yes.
Okay, big adventure,
Yes.
learning Hebrew. Yeah, it sounds very
Yeah.
strange to your ear. I know all of those
Yeah.
different sounds. And the family that you're going to be working for, do they know English? Do you know that, if that's, you know, part of their culture? Do they know English?
As for now, I didn't deployed yet to my employer, but good for me that I didn't deploy yet. For that, I will learn how to speak Hebrew more, so that I can communicate well to my employer when I deployed to them.
Okay. Okay. Right. So you're spending the quarantine time, learn a few more words?
Yes, I am.
Okay, good for you.
Yes, I am. Yeah.
So you're working already. You're getting prepared.
And I learned a lot here through your words.
Through the orientation program.
Yeah,
oh, good. I'm glad to hear that you find it worthwhile. Okay, because we're trying to make an effort and we don't know how it's coming across. But thank you for saying that. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mama. I am saying thank you. Toda raba.
Good. Toda raba. That's a good phrase to know. And don't forget this one. Rega. Don't forget that one. That's an important one. Exactly. Yes. And you've already got the most important one. You've got a beautiful smile.
Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Padera. Thank you.
Anyone else like to ask something or say something? Okay. So here is another YouTube presentation. Oh, Anna, sorry, go ahead.
Evelyn, raise your hand.
Oh, I didn't see. Hi, Evelyn.
Hi, shalom.
Shalom.
Before anything else, I would like to say thank you. We're so grateful for having you with us, always giving us orientation in how dealing with our patient. I think one contributory in communication is to be a good listener. Give time to listen to the employers before speak with them or before answering them.
Okay. Thank you. That's very true. Obviously.
In addition to that, ma'am, to be a good listener, you must hear from the heart, not just for listening. That's it.
You're right. You're right. We call that, being having an emotional quotient, right? To be able to listen to what people really say, not just through their words. And I think that, part of our, like I said, toolbox in our profession is to be able to have that, right? And it is a skill that we can learn, okay? Some people have it more naturally, like all skills, but it is something that we can fine tune and learn to do better, right? To listen to what a person is saying emotionally, not just by his words. Thank you for that.
Yep.
Okay, so this YouTube presentation that you have here, you can again tune into it at your time. Evelyn, did you want to say something else? I see you have your hand written. Okay, well, and it has tips for communicating with the elderly. Maybe tips for communicating with the elderly might be, important, depending if you haven't had an experience in your family, dealing with elderly and so on. Okay. Someone else wanted to comment? Okay. So the next step that we want to talk about is coordination of expectations. This is also very important. When starting a new job and starting a new relationship, each side has expectations, hopes, and concerns. Okay, so it doesn't matter what job we're starting and where we are. Everybody has expectations. Try to have an open conversation with your patient and his family about their needs and expectations. It's important that you also express your needs and expectations and try to be honest, open, and willing to learn, okay? So, yeah, I think it's very important that you feel comfortable where you're going to be staying. And I don't know, what kind of facilities the family is going to provide for you, but I'm assuming that it's going to be adequate for whatever it is that you need. But I also think that it's important to talk about, maybe not the first day, but during the beginning, it's important to ask questions about, how should I say it? Having a stranger in the house is, a unique kind of an experience, okay? When you have family around, they already know how to and what to. But having a stranger from a different culture is a very, kind of stressful situation. So besides being sensitive and observing and listening and so on, also try to ask questions that are obvious, but maybe not be spoken. For example, about your own hygiene, I mean. Is it okay if you take a shower every day? If this is what you're used to, would it be better in the morning or in the evening? Some homes in Israel have solar heaters, and sometimes there's more water in the morning than less, and less, or the opposite, more water in the afternoon, hot water, because they're heated by solar heaters. It might be limited amounts of water. People also try to conserve energy and save on money. Also about, food, when and where you would be okay for you to eat and prepare your food and store your food and your clothing, and how to spend, free time. Perhaps you don't have to be all the time doing something, you'll have a schedule eventually, when you clean, when you shop, when you give medicine, when you bathe and so on, but there's other hours of the day. You sit in the living room and, at the same time, you go to your room unless you're asked to come. You sit in the patio. Can you go in? Can you go out? All of those things are kind of things that need to be negotiated on an interpersonal type of way so that you would feel comfortable with what their expectations are, okay? Some people want to see you all the day, the whole day, 24 hours a day. They want to be in contact with you and their eye. And some don't, just the opposite, if I don't need you, I don't want to see you. So it's very individualized, and it's okay to ask and to talk about it. Okay, this is what I'm trying to say about small things and big things. It's all about coordinating expectations. Along the way, there may be changes in the patient or your expectations and needs, and it's okay as long as you speak about it. If you maintain good communication, you can always talk again openly about your patients and patient's expectations and your expectations, and try to re-coordinate expectations. Okay, the next one we're going to talk about is building trust. But I think that I want to take a 5-minute break, and I invite you again, if there's issues that you want to talk about, expectations or anything else, hang on to them, and we'll be back in 5 minutes, and we'll continue, Thank you for now. Are you with us, Anat? Okay.
With you.
Okay, have more people joined us so far? Good. Okay. Because now we're going to talk about trust. Building trust as part of building the relationship, which is really very important. I think we all know how important trust is in any relationships. Doesn't matter whether it's work-related or, just interpersonal relationships. And we all know that once trust is, compromised, it's almost impossible sometimes, but, very difficult to rebuild trust. So we want to be very sensitive and careful not to lose or, to compromise a trust that we need to have with our employer and, of course, his family as well, right? Because they do trust us with caring for their loved one and his property and everything about him. And this is very important. So what does trust consist of? Reliability, sincerity, integrity, consistency, commitment, and competence. Those are all big words, but let's look at each one of them a little bit more carefully. So what is trust? Trust is one's willingness to be vulnerable to another based on the confidence that the other has goodwill, is trustworthy, competent, honest, and openness, okay? Yeah, this is all very important. It's a shared belief that you can trust someone to achieve a common goal. Okay, so trust is about being vulnerable, okay? Presenting ourselves in a real and open way. And hopefully, you know, the person in front of us would do the same. At the base of trust, there are many elements. Respect for others. Okay, this is something that's very important. We want to respect the person in front of us. To be sincere, okay? To be sincere is to be straightforward and say what we mean and mean what we say, right? This is very important. Integrity. Integrity is that, yes, our word means something, right? That we stand behind what we say and we're honest. To be open. This is very difficult, to be open with someone who's a stranger to us, right? Sharing feelings, being open is sharing feelings and being intimate in a real sense. But it is a very important component in trying to build a trust relationship, right? Because in the beginning, they don't trust us, we don't trust them. So it's, like I said, it's kind of a two-way type of a dance. Each person takes a step forward, and then, you know, when they are met with the kind of response that we need in order to go one other step forward and so on. So it's important that we take the initiative in building this trust relationship. That means we have to be, you know, a little bit more vulnerable and open ourselves as well, okay? Reliability, very important. Reliability, right? Person needs to rely on you, that you're going to be there, that you're going to, you know, provide him with the care that he needs, you know, whether it's medication, food, protection, you know, all of those things are very important. Consistency. This is something that sometimes we don't put an emphasis on, but it's very important. I think we all feel calm and relaxed and happy when we have our routine. I think that everybody can identify with that, right? You get up in the morning, you have your routine, makes you feel good. If there's no hot water and you're used to taking your shower in the morning, ooh, that makes you anxious, okay? I'm just talking about something very small. You ran out of shampoo or toothpaste, ooh, the whole day is ruined. So everybody likes their routine, okay? And it's very important that we learn about the routine of our employer, because this will make him calm and relaxed if we can allow him to maintain his routine, okay? We don't want to change anything about it, especially not in the beginning. We want to be sensitive, observe, listen, and kind of, you know, go with his flow. I think that's important to think about. You know, you're all young and healthy and know how to do things perhaps better, more efficient and so on, but no, don't want to do any of that. You want to do things at their pace, at their flow, at their, you know, they call the leads. You're there kind of to assist and make it easier for them. But this is very important to be consistent. Consistency has to do with their maintaining their routine, okay? And learning what it is. And of course, commitment. Commitment is very important, okay? They have to know that you're committed to their well-being and to take care of them. And even if the going is hard or there's something unexpected to be dealt with, they have to know that you're committed to do your best to be there for them, okay? More ingredients for trust, the willingness to be vulnerable, right? This is important. I think that you're very vulnerable. And sometimes, you know, when we feel that way, that they can do what they want with us. As being foreign workers, you're very vulnerable, right? To be used and misused if they choose to. Not for long, but even so, you are vulnerable. Strange countries, strange people, hard for you to trust as well. So this is very obvious. And being sometimes we put up walls to be, like more rigid and more protective of our own vulnerability at the beginning. So, be a little bit more relaxed in that. And that will allow, they're vulnerable too. You can, again, they feel all, everything is showing their backsides, right? They're most exposed to you. So yes, being vulnerable is on both sides, and allowing people to, to feel that you are vulnerable as well will encourage trust. A sense of security that the trust recipient will meet expectations. This is also very important, right? You're going to try to meet their expectations. Goodwill, a belief that the recipient of the trust will protect the well-being of the trust giver, right? You're there to protect them, right? And reliability, connection between predictability and goodwill. Yes, to be reliable is very important, right? They have to they have to trust that you're going to make sure they get their medicine, their food, everything else that they need. They can rely on you. Honesty, needless to say, you must be honest. Okay, honest is a fit between statement and action. If you make a mistake, it's okay, but you have to come forward. If you start by, manipulating the situation, that causes mistrust. So everybody makes mistakes, but you must be, brave enough and open enough to admit if you make mistakes, that's fine, okay? To be open and transparent, this is what I'm talking about. And reciprocity, okay? Treating others as we would like to be treated. I think that's the basis for the whole world. We want to treat people the way we want to be treated the way we want to treat people the way we want to be treated. Excuse me. This is like, number one rule of any kind of communication and trust. How to build trust and trusting relationship with our patient. Effective tools. Remember that your patient opens his most private space for you, his home. And like you, he has concerns, expectations, hopes from this relationship. Give trust, trust yourself, and trust the patient, and trust the process of getting to know each other. If you trust the other, they will trust you. Always tell the truth. Sometimes something bothers you, don't keep it inside. Try to talk about it. This is very important, Sometimes, we have things that bother us about a situation that this is your home as well. And it's going to be spending most of your life with these people. And it's very important to be open. And if you need something, that you should share. Otherwise, you're going to be dishonest with yourself and with them, and it's going to make things very difficult. And in the end, it will harm the trust bond. So it's very important that you are open. And again, I encourage you, everyone has their down days, their up days, things that will be happening in your life. I mean, we're all humans, obviously, and you're going to be sharing your life with this family. So it is important that you build a trust relationship with them as well, right? That they will be there for you if you need something. God forbid you have, a health issue or another emergency in your life, that they would also be there for you as well, right? Not only you are there for them. And so it's very important to be honest and straightforward, okay? And again, I say it's not one employer. Usually it's the individual that you're caring for, but it's also his family. And so there's usually, perhaps there will be an occasion, someone who's all alone and has no family, but this would be, I would think, a very unusual kind of a situation. Most people do have other family members caring for them. that are involved. Perhaps they divide, you know, the needs. One person may be in charge of finances and money. Another person may be in charge of, you know, other things like health and so on. And someone else might be in charge of something else. Caring for a disabled person is a big job. It's a 24-hour job for anyone. So you'll be a big help, obviously, but I'm assuming that the family will continue to be involved in some way or another. I'll just say that it's also very important that you take the initiative in maintaining that relationship, okay? So try to find out who are those people in the family that are involved. Maybe there's a family WhatsApp or a family way of communication that you can join and give a proactive report. We had a good week. Some things were difficult, this, that, and the other. You know, be proactive in involving them in the care of the situation. Not just to complain on a continuous basis of this is bad and that's bad, but the opposite, you know, involve them in how things are for you as well as a caregiver, okay? This is very important that you take the proactive side of it. Okay, step number 4, creating the caregiving alliance. And again, this is part of it, right? Being proactive. The caregiving alliance consists of 3 essential components: agreeing on the caregiving task, agreeing on the goals of the care, and developing a personal relationship consisting of mutual positive feelings, trust, and good communication, right? This sums up what we're talking about. The caregiving alliance is usually determined at the beginning of the relationship between the caregiver and the patient and constitutes primary infrastructure that the relationship between them, okay? At the beginning of a relationship, you know, we all know that first impressions are very important. So you know, you gotta be charmers. We all are.
Sarah? Can you hear the rest of you? No, right?
Yes,
She's
ma'am.
gone.
No.
But you couldn't hear Sarah for the last few seconds, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, did I disappear for everyone? My internet kind of went down for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm back. So as I said before, gotta be charmers. First impressions are important. So pull out the smile. I have to tell you that when I was interviewing people, you know, for work, and they didn't smile a lot during that first interview, they were not hired. So you gotta be smilers, really, more than many other things. Anat, did you want to say something?
Yeah, your presentation. Zanisgal.
Oh, my presentation. Okay, let's share that again.
Yeah.
Sorry, okay. Okay, here we are. So as I said, okay, the caregiving alliance is usually determined at the beginning of a relationship between the caregiver and the patient and constitutes a primary infrastructure for the relationship between them. So, I mean, even though you're tense and anxious and, you know, about everything being new and strange and wanting to do a good job, if you don't smile, they're going to think you're an anxious person and very strict and very scary. So you got to first relax, be aware of that, and smile. Okay. Such a contract gives stability to the caregiving relationship and a sense of mutual responsibility and partnership, right? This is a key word, partnership, okay? So you have a common goal to be caring for this person, and it is a partnership. They're going to do their part by teaching you and, you know, and telling you what they need, and you're going to do the other part of allowing that to happen, okay? Step number 5, taking into account social and cultural components. Part of the Caregiving Alliance is to take into consideration social and cultural components. You and your patient come from different culture. You have different language, lifestyles, customs, preferences, and beliefs. It's okay if you express your preference and keep your customs, but it's better to talk about it with your patient and to reach an agreement. Try to take into account the culture, values, customs, traditions of your patient. This includes food preferences, daily routine, and habits. Okay. Food is an important part. I think you have to understand that people that, their health has been compromised, what are the source of their pleasure? Really, what is the source of their pleasure? Everybody needs to have pleasure in their life. So this is something that you want to find out, what gives them pleasure, obviously. And food is a very big source of pleasure. It is for you as well. Your life has also been kind of minimized by being confined to this position. And food is going to be important for you as well, right? So there's other parts of life, obviously, that you want to be connected to, family, friends, exercise, music, all of those things are very important in everyone's life, okay? Very important. Music, very important. Okay, and you want to try to learn as much about your client and his likes and dislikes, about his culture, about what makes him happy, and yes, you're going to have to learn about food. So if you haven't been in the Middle East and you haven't been exposed to different smells, different spices, dietary restrictions, and so on, this is going to be a big part of the learning curve that you're going to be on. And you also have to be aware that smell is also a big important thing. Sometimes in elder people, all of the senses kind of become minimized, and that means that they don't hear so well, they don't see so well, and they don't smell so well. And smell is also very much related to taste. And so depending on what kind of a physical situation they are in, sometimes they will say that, taste has become bland, okay? So you want to spice up their food, and all of that is going to be part of the relationship that you're going to have with your client and his family as well, to learn what are the things that are appropriate or not, how much salt, how much sugar, what other spices make them feel good, and how to encourage them to eat if they don't, if they have an issue with not eating or overeating or whatever. But food is a very, very important aspect of their life as well as yours, okay? Again, I invite you to participate, everyone. What do you think is the most complex step? What do you think is the easiest step? And do you have any concerns about any of these steps that, this in relation to building trust and building a trust relationship? Would anyone like to comment? No comments, no questions. Baby Ruth, what do you think? I'm calling on you because I like your name. I look at Baby Ruth and I see the candy bar. See, we all have associations. Can't help it. Maybe you look at me and you think of something else.
Yes. I have questions about the tone of the voice when we talk to someone. So do we really need to talk them instantly to the eye contact when we when we talk to them?
I think eye contact is very important. You know, we kept stressing that. Do you find it difficult to have eye contact with someone? Are you a shy person? You have a hard time looking at someone in the eye? Okay,
Yeah.
I can understand that. Right, makes you feel uncomfortable. Listen, you are who you are. That's who you are. I think that once you feel more comfortable and more, you have more self-confidence, then you will feel more comfortable looking a stranger in the eye. I think this is something that, again, if you know it's important, you make an effort. But in the beginning, yeah, you are who you are.
Yeah.
So smile a lot.
Yes, I know. I understand now why. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
You're very welcome. I know that different cultures respond differently to eye contact. This is why we stress it and we talk about it quite a bit in our presentation. First of all, because it is accepted here, and this is how we do communicate. And especially when you have a language barrier, we say the eye is the window to the heart. So yeah, maybe this will be a skill that you will learn and you will be more empowered from it, like other skills you will learn. This is, like I said in the beginning, our personality is our toolbox. And, we want to make more tools in our personality. It's not like we carry around a hammer and nails, but our personality skills that we develop in ourselves make us better caregiver and better people altogether, I think. Not just for our employers, but for ourselves and for our family and so on. Okay, thank you for sharing that. That's an important issue.
Thank you for the point.
You are who you are. And I think that, even without direct eye contact in the beginning, it can be threatening in the beginning. It can be threatening when people kind of, stare at you. In different cultures, I was watching something interesting about different cultures, how they behave in terms of staring. There are cultures where, for example, in the United States, when you're riding on the train, like the subway or the bus, you're not supposed to look at people. People get offended if they catch you looking at them. This is considered an invasion of privacy. It's something that you don't talk about, but can get people angry. I found myself traveling in different places in the world, and I like to look at people. It's interesting to me. And so I find myself maybe staring. They look different. I look at their body gestures, how they, whatever. That's my favorite pastime, to sit in a coffee shop and watch people go by. Yes. And in some cultures, it's considered offensive to be looked at. In Hebrew, in Israel, it isn't. I just have to tell you, it isn't considered offensive. It might even be considered as a compliment. If you're looking at someone, maybe you're admiring them. And so it might be even cause a smile.
Don't do it for a long period of time. That will just strain.
Okay. Yes, because maybe
keep it reasonable. So, what is reasonable is a good question, because I saw something on the internet about a study that they did in different cultures. Reasonable is different. In some cultures, it's 3 minutes is reasonable. In other cultures, like 30 seconds is enough.
Hi, Mom.
I learned a lot.
Hi.
Yes, ma'am. In my own observation, based from my observation, out of curiosity, Some Israeli has, aggressive tone of voice. Then some of them are intimidating to talk to. So if we are going to deal with them, are we need to be a passive one or as is, as what we, as what we express ourselves?
Well, first of all, you be yourself. You don't have to be anything different than yourself, okay? You're polite and calm and relaxed, and that's, I think, the best way to be. And if someone approaches you in a way that you interpret as being aggressive, then you have to eventually learn if they are aggressive or this is just the way they, the tone of speech. I'll share with you something, and it does take time. I worked in a care facility for many years, and we used to have volunteers from Scandinavia come and assist us, and they didn't speak Hebrew, but they were very friendly and nice, and they assisted, serving food and coffee and tea and smiling at everyone and so on. And at the end of like 2 or 3 months, they learned a little bit of Hebrew. And then I asked them, tell us about your experience here with us. And what they said was that at first they were overwhelmed and shocked because the way the staff talked with each other was at a very high tone voice with a lot of energy and and they thought they were fighting all the time. And then eventually they understood that no, this is just the way they communicate. And a lot of energy, a lot of noise, a lot of pathos, but they were not fighting. This is just the way that they were relating. So different cultures relate differently. Perhaps if I come to the Philippines, I'll say, they don't express anything. They're just so, so very statuesque. On the opposite side of the coin of perhaps people in the Middle East or Israelis, to be specific. So you don't have to do anything to change yourself. You just have to learn to read the social cues that are out there, right? And so this is just the important part about learning about the culture and especially the interaction, the way that people interact in the family that you're in, right? Some people can fight very quietly. One word, one look can kill, like a knife. So, so it's all about learning the specific cues of, of that particular situation. No, don't change. Don't be aggressive.
Thank you, Mom.
Anyone else like to share something or ask a question? Well, I think that we can, wrap it up unless, Anat, you want to share something or say something?
Yes, please. Thank you, everyone. I'd like to thank you for sharing and your active participating. And we will not see each other tomorrow. Our next meeting will be on Wednesday. It will be around 3:30. If I'm not mistaken. I will send you the link, of course. And in our next meeting, we will meet a Filipino caregiver who's been here for approximately 10 years. So you will have the chance to ask questions. She will share about her experience. And I hope you will come up with some questions and prepare yourself for that very interesting meeting. Of course, it will be on the second part. The first part will be with Sarah, but also going to be very interesting. I hope to see you all there. All
Have
right,
a nice day, everyone.
Have a nice day.
On Wednesday.
Have a nice day.
Toda raba. Toda raba.
Toda raba.
Thank you very much.
Salam Priyat.
להתראות.
להתראות.
להתראות.